Congratulations. remember the day, coming home after a long day of work, the sun already setting in the sky, a bright, brilliant blood red. The door to my apartment groans in welcome as I enter the cold, murky space of my apartment. But even before I turn on the lights, I see just a glint shape on the table, a dark, rectangular envelope, matte on the greased sheen of the tabletop, but with a deep red seal and emblem stamped in deep. And as I look from that table, I see in the window upon my sill a large shadow of a black raven. And for a moment, I swear I catch a knowing eye from it as it lets out a bellowing caw and unfurls its blackened wings before jetting off into the crimson sunset, fading into the dark night. I turn the letter over. It is addressed to me. And from Root Academy. Hello, Fays and Fiends. Welcome to my channel, to our delightful little game of Tangled Blessings. Oh gosh, I'm so excited. So I have been asked by Cassi Mothwin, who is a wonderful, award-winning tabletop designer and creator, who is presently, if you're watching here live on Twitch, here in chat. And we are playing the game, which launched today and got funded today. Lots of amazing milestones going on, so super happy for Cassi. Round of applause, everybody. If you don't know what this game is, I do have some command codes for those here on Twitch. If you do command code BLESSING, you will get a direct link to the Crowdfundr campaign if you want to check out the game for yourself, support the campaign, get the preview, whatever you wish to do. And if you want to check out more of Cassie's stuff, if you do command code MOTH, that will get you a link to her itch page, which will have all of her other games that she has done thus far available there. Super, super delightful things. And before we get 100% into the wonderful gothic, spooky, dark academia vibes, let me talk a little bit about the game. Kind of what was there is Tangled Blessings enters a genre of dark academia, taking a bit of those horror elements. So there is some content warnings to go along with that. Explores the harmful errors of academia. We will delve into dark magics and rituals. We will delve into murder and death and violence. But along with that can also come depression, suicidal thoughts, and ideations, isolation, self-harm. Now, I will also say, as much as all that is wonderful and delightful, taking a quote from our good friend JC Darcy that is on the Crowdfundr page, this quote says, "Tangled Blessings is beautiful and eerie, and you can and should romance your rival." Top tier stuff. I do plan to add romance as it is February, a month of love, so why not go there? As you can see presently on screen, I already have some of my setup going on. I already pulled some beginning things, which I'll go into the story a bit as we go. I've written down what kind of character I'm playing, and how we go from there. Also, as just spoiler warnings, if you want to go into playing this game completely fresh, without any information on the prompts or backgrounds or any of that stuff, save the tab or check for a YouTube video later, because I will probably be reading out stuff to help my brain process and make the story that I want to make here. But otherwise, I think that's all I need to say. Once again, if at any point you want to check out the game in the Crowdfundr, just do command code BLESSINGS here and live in the Twitch chat. Or if you're watching this as a VOD on YouTube, it will be in the About section down below. All right. So with all that, let's get started, shall we? So, my name is Celestine Weiss, though my friends do call me Celeste. I am 25 years old. She, her pronouns. And not too long after I've gotten the letter, I did follow the instructions to accept the entrance. It was probably a time for change for me. I was already getting evicted from the apartment anyway, and not that it was a great place to begin with. Work was stressful, and life was hard to deal with, so the idea that I have some type of magic lurking about in me that's needing to just be awoken. Very attractive. I remember the first day of school. It was a gray day. Very light, rainy drizzle. And walking across the cold, dark grounds, I just saw this beautiful sight. The towering object that is the academy, breaking from the forest into this gray sky. It was a nice change. Now, they explained a little bit more on how we came about being selected. And when they told me, I always remember having an odd affiliation of being almost unnaturally artistic. I never taken classes or tutelage. I was just always good at it. And then when they mentioned of the speaking gem, when we would be visiting, that would put us into our houses of education and where we'd be staying and boarding. I just remember having those dreams even before the letter. Dreams of a foggy, almost pastel-y landscape, and shapes and symbolism forming into that cloud as though something was trying to reach out and speak to me. I remember the day we all went to the speaking gem, those of us being initiated into the academy. I remember seeing a figure. Someone that I would discover would be my rival. A rather tall man, jet black hair, scruffy beard, deep olive skin, and dark gray eyes that almost look like a rolling storm in them. He kept to the back of the crowd, standing like a tower. Intimidating. But something intriguing about him. This rival, as I pulled the card, the tower. Those who know, know. But through the whole process of us being sorted, he was utterly quiet, and amongst the crowd there was rumors among the other students, some gossips. He got sorted into the House of Celestials. And after he went to stand back into the crowd of students already sorted, I went up to here, where the speaking gem would place me. And I found myself placed in the House of Delilah's. It seemed quite fitting once I learned more about it. Now with that, our first year begins. So representing our first year is a little deck of wands. I'm using, I should say what tarot deck I'm using for anyone curious. I'm using the Antique Anatomy Tarot deck, created by Claire Goodchild. I've used it before on stream in the past. I will say, if you're squeamish about bugs, though I don't know how well you may be able to make it out on the screen, but it has very beautiful illustrations, so using that, I thought it was fitting. Alright. So beginning our year, this is where we'll also talk about game mechanics a little bit. As we begin to draw cards. And yes, I will share links for those curious about the deck, because I know I have fellow tarot deck lovers watching. As this is a tarot deck-based game, very important to have one. So we are now reflecting on Celestine's first year. Very quickly finding out that I am a potential prodigy of the magic craft. But not the only one, as my rival has also shown great excellence in our class as well. So, let me place my 3 cards. There's our 3 cards, and I'll put my deck aside. Thank you, deck. So, now that we have our 3 cards, we flip the first one over and read the prompt. So I drew the King. We drew the King of Wands. Interesting, okay. This was a very exciting time, as within this first year, I've always had a bit of affinity of finding non-human friends. I always attracted the cats in the neighborhood, I always fed the birds, and the crows would bring me trinkets and stuff on my balcony back at my old apartment. But this I found a little docile creature of sorts. It almost looked like a little shadow demon. It's very matte black in skin and fur, deep socketed eyes, but little, long pointed ears, and 2 sets of little horns on the top. It was very rainy, and I was walking the grounds, and it initially appeared like a little screaming goat. It darted off across the grounds and stopped in front of me, gave that goatish belt. I couldn't help but laugh at it, and it was a little bit offended, but then it took in my laughter as an acceptance, and it ran around me in circles, continuing to belt out this little blah. I named him Memphis. And though his hooves hurt a little bit when he jumps on me, he's pretty good company. And through the year, Memphis, our little black goat Memphis, was actually really helpful. A lot of people were afraid that he would eat the paper and the books, just based on the goatish appearance. But he ended up helping me a lot in carrying my assignments, and anything that I needed, he would pick up anything that I dropped. Of course, if he ever overheard anybody talk smack about me behind my back, he was my hype goat. He would very much start screaming in the middle of the hall, and then everyone knew he must have talked about Celestine. And that's where it was just having the most fun, our dear Memphis. All he asked was to be a little bit of a menace within the castle grounds, much to the chagrin of many of my teachers, as long as he kept that mischief nature outside the classrooms and outside the study halls. He would be my problem. And what was most interesting during that first year, I recall seeing my rival in reaction to my goat almost crack a smile. The one day Memphis full rammed one of the professors into a fountain. Very much got in trouble, though forgiving enough as that was early on with Memphis, and demons can be a little mischievous. But with the right pardon and upping my study load, which of course I kept on top of, it was a good day. Our next card, our beautiful 5 of Wands. Kind of like bamboo with some flowers in there. Very pretty. We were in class and we were studying that day divination with loose leaf tea. And we were partnered up, and that was the time I was partnered with my rival for the first real time able to talk to him. I learned that his full name is Eric Tremor. He didn't really say much about himself, where he was from, or any other sort of thing like that, but he just kept a very stern eye watching me as I did my portion of the study, and we took turns sipping quietly as everyone else seemed to chatter about and talk to each other and see what they understood from their loose leaf. We went through the ritual. We passed each other our cups. And it was very hard to read. I remember that for... The leaves are just... seemed almost murky still. And as I looked into the cup, I could see what my interpretation was either a serpent that circled along and up to the rim. He said in mine he saw what looked to be a swarm of butterflies. It's kind of swirling around through the center of the cup. It was a little awkward trying to discuss what we were seeing in our cups, but we made our notes to match the needs of the assignment. We discussed our interpretations. And I kind of liked partnering with him. And maybe we'd do it again. Next card. Ooh, the One of Rods. So it has like a lot of pink flowers and little white flowers. So this is our ace, I should say. It says 1, but it's our ace card. The difference of tarot decks. There was one real exciting day. The idea of being able to teleport yourself across space and time. I remember attempting portal magic for the very first time. It just seemed to come so naturally, it just flowed so fluently. And the professor said that all we had to do was just imagine where we wanted to go, a place we could go. But to just keep it simple, as it was the first day. Think of your dorm room or even across the hall. So I envisioned my portal. And I thought, maybe to the edge of the woods. I come to really like them, as much as the dangers are, and as much as they say they are forbidden. I thought, why not take this chance? So I opened that portal, and I went to step through. But it almost felt like something pushed back on me. And in that moment, I just felt a flash of darkness and a cold, searing pain through deep mutterings filling my brain. Next thing I know, I open my eyes and I'm on the floor. Just outside the window of the classroom. A couple of students around kind of were whispering as they were taking me in. And I just have a shooting pain in my ear. And as I pull my hand away, I see there's just a bit of a smear of blood. And I look around. And as the students start to come up, Eric is there. And very quietly, he pulls me to my feet and starts walking me through the crowd. He takes me to the door of the infirmary and says he'll go let the teacher know where I was, and just left. He may not talk a lot, and the rumors about him is questionable, but who would just walk somebody straight to the infirmary like that, not really knowing if I truly was hurt? My hearing was gone for most of the week, but it did come back in time. But I definitely didn't try to portal to the Forbidden Forest again. That was a little intimidating. And Memphis ended up being very, very angry at me. He didn't like I couldn't hear him on the one side. Alright, so now I believe we draw. Let me double check. We draw a major card, so let me pull my little deck of major arcana. No, wait. I'm reading my steps. I'm gonna play this right. Draw 3 more minor arcanas. These are for rivals cards. Okay. So that was me. That was my year. I got Memphis. I tried a portal and didn't. And divination class. No, I am so confused. My brain likes to go in random orders here. So we did our here. We now draw from the Major Arcana deck and use the revealed card to inspire a response from the prompt. Ooh, Hangman. So this nice, pretty skeleton fellow hanging from a post. A little blue, almost spell-like flowers. So, the first year, definitely a struggle. Though, it was good. It was still a good year. Friend Cassi coming in. So, to respond to what I was trying to do here, when you draw the Major Arcana card to inspire your response to the minor cards when you draw. Okay. So is it to help with the prompt? So if I had like, let's say if I did just draw this card, it would help me with that prompt? Oh, okay. Yes. Live talking about mechanics. Well, let me show off the card anyway here, everybody. The delightful item, the Hangman. We can go back in that. We'll see you later, Hangman, I am sure. But I still draw for my rival, yes? See how they've done in this year? Because they're also a prodigy that could beat me. Yes, draw 3 cards from the deck of wands for your rival and write them down. Alright. I will move my little pile aside. And let's see how Eric fared. So, our first card, the 10 of rods or wands in the traditional tarot sense. So I will interpret this like Celestine, is sort of witnessing from a distance. Either secondhand or just observation. So on a particular day, I recall Eric seeming very, not really upset, but distracted, which is unusual for him. He's a very focused individual. I did ask if he was alright, but he ended up asking me if I knew about visitations of if any family or friends would be allowed to visit campus. And I sort of pondered on that, but I just thought we had to keep everything a secret, and since no one that I know has ever been to the academy, I just shook my head and said I had no idea. He just gave a single nod and almost in a quiet huff turned heel and walked away. Ooh, here's another pretty card. The 7. I grimaced through this workshop. More, I was jealous he got to do it. Eric was leading a workshop involving manipulation of time, and he seemed to just have a better rap of it all. But through the workshop, as we were getting a handle on things, something went wrong. There was almost an explosion of purplish black light and deep ticking, like if you were inside of Big Ben, like in the heart of that clock, and just hearing the minute hand and a slowed, skewed sound of it turning. Clonk, clonk, clonk. No one was ever too sure what went wrong. Many said it seemed it may have been sabotaged. But the headmaster very quickly came on scene. And very much, student by student, through professors, interviewed all of us to see how we handled the situation. He was very critical of how I did it. I was able to push back that explosion a little bit, but it was still overwhelming. And I remember Eric being taken off workshop schedules for a while. Ooh, night. Night of Rats? Our very first potion making assignment. There was a lot of interesting ingredients, and being new to the whole thing really squeed me out. But Eric, I remember watching him going in and collecting the ingredients as though they were nothing. He got top grade that day, as the professor was a bit surprised at how well he took to it. He did mention in sort of an utterance of having studied medicinal medicines before coming to the academy. Maybe that was just his natural magic pouring out of him. He ended up making a really good sleeping potion. One that could just knock someone out and put them into a deep sleep for a couple hours, and someone would wake up as though they had a full, deep, refreshing night's rest. Was definitely envious of that, and watching a lot of people asking Eric if he could replicate the potion so that maybe they could have it, because having a big chunk of time asleep pulled into a couple hours, that would help immensely during the exam times. But he stayed his quiet self, and I could tell in his face he was getting awkward from the attention. And the moment the teacher drew the class's attention back to the front, he sort of ducked out as quickly as he could. Alright. So our first year, on both sides, very interesting. We both suffered a bit of injury from an unfortunate classroom debacle. Whether it was just our unfortunate miscalculation or someone else getting involved. Unsure. But the summertime comes. And I did find myself longing to remain on academy grounds. My apartment had sold when I left, so I had to look for a new one. So I just rented a cheap room. A couple $100 or so, but I just needed a bed to sleep, a little kitchenette area to cook. Unfortunately, Memphis could not go with me. But he was happy to remain on the academy grounds and wait for me to return. It was frustrating not be able to tap into my magic in front of everyone. And eventually, I think after the first couple weeks, I did make the decision to go back to the academy early, because they do allow us to be there. And without the studies of classes or the monotonous work of a typical adult life, or just living a typical mundane adult life, I walked the grounds most of the days, around the Whispering Lake, and with paints and papers and canvas and sketchbooks, I'd find new spots to draw what I saw, or what I imagined I saw. The shadows that creep out from the forest line, faces in the waters, drifting of fog and humanoid shape through the graveyards. Probably my most haunting art I've ever done at that point. Eric wasn't on campus for our break. Not quite sure what he was up to. Some of the other students joked that maybe he had to go back home and make sure all of his stuff is in order so he doesn't get caught for some random murder or something. Well, I don't know if that's anything to have any validity, but people like to make up stories. Oh no, my coffee's cold. No! Alright. That's the worst. This is why I came back to the academy, so I can reheat my coffee without a microwave. Just cast a little spell and have it nice and hot and remain that way. So as I reminisce about the simple spells that make life so much better, we move into our second year. And though the studies continue on, myself and Eric remain pretty top of class. There's a darker turn that happens. So let me shuffle my deck. Here we are. Cups? My deck likes to call them elixirs. I really, really like the cups for this one, so I'm excited to show it off. Okay, that feels good. So my 3 cards. All right. First card, the Queen. We have this beauty elixir. 1.3 ounces in there, fluid ounces. But caution contains love. I love it. So, our Queen, what does she tell us? Well, if you haven't if you haven't figured it out at this point, I am an adventurous spirit. And though I kept to the outdoors during the summer, when studies came back up, I found myself wandering the halls far more than I did before. And what one must know when they're attending Blackroot Academy, there's a lot of secrets. Not just in the hushed tones of those that attend, or those that teach or oversee, or even through the magics that wind and whisper through the very walls and earth. There is many passageways. And this was the year that I ended up tumbling into one. And as I wandered through down this grimy passageway that seemed untouched for years, I entered what felt like a tomb. Stonework, cobbled, cold, damp. And there was artifacts and relics on well-intricate pedestals, standing tall and unmoved. And as I try and create a bit of light so I can understand what I'm looking at, I realize that some of these items, I've heard about them. I've heard about, I don't know, maybe if I read them in a book, or maybe one of the professors of mystical artifacts. Maybe it was that class. The professor warning us of how some of these relics of magic, of the dark arcane, can really wreck a mage. It can really just pull from their senses, from their deep soul. It can turn them into nothing. Or it can overpower them, making the mage believe they can gain whatever they want in the world if they just have the relic. I was scared. The idea that I was just able to, at random, tumble into this space to walk across ancient, forgotten stone and seeing these items of unknown powers. And with that fear, I didn't spend a second longer trying to figure out what it was I'm looking at, what these items are, to identify them. I didn't want to touch it in case there was something wrong. And when I leave, full pace, dashing out, I make sure to note along the walls and spaces so I don't forget, so I don't lose track of where it was. And I head to the headmaster's office, where I tell them what I found, the space that I found. and walk them through. There was a lot of concern, and the next time I walked that hallway and went to find the passage, that entryway was completely blocked. Even touching it, there wasn't any false wall or illusion magic. It was just already bricked in, and probably for the best. $10 elixirs. Look at that card. What's in this card? It has, because it's magical stuff. This works. Snake oil, a love potion, attraction elixir, something that's magical and has a unicorn. Great. What does the 10 bring me? Oh no. Oh no. Professor Bronwyn. They were a brilliant mind of illusionary magics. But maybe they took their illusionary magics way too far. There was just a wave of kerfuffle going through the academy as Professor Bronwyn was being led out across the grounds. The rumors that were echoing amongst the fellow students were they had ties to some sort of association that wanted to take over the school. I remember that day well because as the professor that morning, before they were walked out of the office, before anything rippled out, they handed me a sealed chest. They said I was very talented, that it seemed my natural artistic endeavors was in line to illusionary path. And they thought what was here would help. To help solidify that connection to such the arcane. That sealed chest sits hidden underneath the bed. It took me a very long time to even think about trying to open it. Even Eric was startled by the happenings. He asked me if I knew why Professor Bronwyn was being escorted out or what was happening around all that, but I didn't know. The replacement teacher for illusion isn't as good as them, though. That I do know. Maybe I should open that chest. And this is where I'm going to get creative and pull from the deck of our major arcana and see what they tell us is in the chest. Who's going to give us the clue? Oh my god. He came back, everybody. The Hanged Man. He did not want to be put away. He said, nope, I'm first one. I am first one. Well. Hangman. Interesting card. Let me get some meaning up on my screen here. As my jostled brain tries to pull it all in. Hanged Man. It was interesting. When I finally came and opened the box, just one really late night, Memphis was asleep off in the corner. Just little meh snores coming out of him. The lights were dim, just a single burning candle on the nightstand, and I sat in the middle of the bed and very quietly creaked it open. And inside was this brilliant rod crystal, only a few inches long and an inch thick, and yet shattering through it, almost like lightning, was this iridescent line. And as I twist and turn it and try to catch the reflections in the light, I felt like visions just appeared in the colors as I started to cast on the walls. Just these illusions of creatures and landscapes. And yet, while I was taken in by the lights, in turn the shadows started act insane, where they started to take on shapes, almost like a shadow puppetry, but darker. More demonic, bestial creatures trying to chase down the light, trying to grasp at it, but can't. I'm still uncertain. I didn't quite understand why Professor Bronwyn wanted me to have this. Maybe it was one of the relics. I don't know. It's beautiful, though. Okay. Last card for year 2. Ooh, we're getting quite high cards here. So we have the page. Their bottle is Eternal Youth. Apothecary. Very, very pretty. So, our elixir. What does the page tell us? This was an odd thing. When I get ready through my day, I don't really pay attention to what's in the mirror. I brush my teeth, I wash my face, I do a lot of it in the showers, honestly. I try and minimize my time while maximizing, well, I should say, as I rethink my words, I like to maximize my time in the shower and minimize my time getting ready. Because I love my time in the shower. It is warm, it is relaxing. I love listening to the wash of water and scrubbing my hair and body. But because I don't really pay attention to reflections or anything like that, it took until one day I was sitting by a window and it was dark out, so we only had the light interior casting reflections, making the window almost like a black mirror. Eric came by and he was giving me a really odd look, very furrowed-browed and a tilt in his head. And when I kind of returned to the look back at him, he pointed at the window and he said, your reflection isn't there. Of course, I gasped and I went to look. And very puzzled. He did ask if I'm just realizing that now. If I even knew how long it was gone, and I had no idea. I ended up talking with Arisha Lingle. Arisha was always really good. She was a senior at the time in her final year. She knew a lot about magics around mirrors and reflections and waters. Very talented in that aspect. She knew how to draw imagery and visions when casting in a still vessel or mirror. When I went to talk to her about my missing reflection, Arisha said that if your reflection is missing, then someone's trying to impersonate you. Impersonate me, of all people. Sure, I was considered prodigy, and sure, I don't know. I don't get in trouble too often, like others, or... Who would want to impersonate me? Well, Arisha said that if I want my reflection back, maybe I should try and, quote-unquote, borrow someone else's, because that may make the reflection jealous and may want to have it come back. I was confused. But Arisha is really good at what she knows, so following their instructions, I did end up asking Eric, as he was the first one to notice and to point it out. I initially thought he would turn it down. But he kind of cracked a joke about how it'd be interesting to see me impersonate him. And since I've asked, I have his permission. So would that be stealing? Would that work? Well, we tried it. It took a little bit, and it was super, super awkward when I turned into the mirror and I would see Eric instead of me, and I'd look into his eyes. And then I would turn and look at the real Eric, who has a bemusement across his face. But not too long after, my reflection did return. And I did try, with Arisha's help, to see about connecting with my reflection to understand where it went, who took it, who was trying to impersonate me. This another time, I'm going to draw from the Major Arcana and see who tried to impersonate me. Will my reflection tell me? Alright. We have the Fool. Okay. So, my reflection, with Arisha's interpretation stepping in, we found out it was a fellow student, one of the first years. Her name was Crystal Breckett, and she was just someone who I soon found out was actually quite enamored with my work and efforts. But they were so, I guess, self-conscious and hard on themselves that they thought maybe if they just impersonated me for a little bit, that maybe walking in my shoes would help them understand how to study better, how to apply themselves better. just how to be a prodigy like me. And maybe they held on to that reflection a little too long, and maybe that aloof adventure of seeing what it's like to be in someone else's shoes went a little far. But I said, this is fine. I didn't even notice. And it seems like maybe no one else did. But probably don't do it again, or next time you may have to involve the professors or even the headmaster. And hey, another student with a crystal name for, I mean, her name is Crystal, while mine is Celestine, another type of gem. We can be friends. So as interesting as my year was for my second year, between the ousting of Professor Bronwyn and fighting those relics that just disappeared from the map, at least having a little tomfoolery around someone stealing my reflection, but that in itself, that someone can steal your reflection, it's a little unsettling. A little bit. But with my year told, let's see how our good man Eric has done in his year. Okay. Let's go, Eric. Ooh, Knight. Knight is the first card for Eric. What's the potion for him? Fertility. It's a fertility potion on the card. Okay. There was one day I was studying in the courtyard. I had this time period where I had my study, and I was seeing Eric as well as his classmates for a particular class that we didn't share. And I would see them walk by through the day and walk out by the end before I had to go to my next class. And one day as I was sitting, I noticed just fewer and fewer students walking by as the week went on. By the next week, there was rumors of these students missing, and when I saw Eric in our next class together, he did mention that the students weren't showing up in class, and about 2/3 of the class was gone, and it was unusual. Students like Brendan and Surya, they were always very much on time and studious and passionate about that class, which was one on healing arts, but they were just missing. And I remember the first snow came for the year, and after all those weeks, the students were found. They were found just standing in a small clearing in the woods. The rumor said they were just there, unblinking, silent. One professor, in hushed tones to another, said that before them, when they came across all these missing students, was just a pillar floating. Just a black basalt in coloration and material. And as one of the students would be tried to be pulled away, that pillar careened into the ground and shattered and splintered out. And the students woke up. Talking to any of the ones missing, Saria, she said she doesn't remember. She just remembers the sun setting that first couple weeks of school, and as everything went dark, her next moment was waking up in that clearing. There was quite a tension, just thick and heavy in the air, especially around the professors, as they started to keep a more watchful eye on the students. It almost shut down any conversation on what the whole event was about. There ended up being a tighter restriction on wandering the grounds. That any students moving about needs to keep the familiar with them. To move in pairs or groups, preferably. And if you see anything off, or you are a witness to anything that is harmful, or could lead to harm, to report to a professor ASAP. Good job, Eric. That was a delightful draw for you. 5 elixir. What do we have in this one? A sodium blend, a blood tincture, violet water. Of course, this is like Victorian medical inspiration, so heroin, cough tonic. Don't do it. All right, 5. Oh, it was quite an intense day. I remember looking out the windows as everyone else started yelling out. And we saw that the greenhouse on campus caught fire. Just, you could hear this piercing explosion, and when you turn and look out the window, just these curling fingers of fire and smoke swirling up. All the students were trying to rush out, of course, being attracted to the fire and explosion, because who doesn't want to get involved? We came to the scene, and the students that were already there, whether nearby classes or studies, were trying to control the flames. And I could see Eric. He was already casting some magics to summon moisture and water from the earth to try and douse the flames from underneath. Clever. And the sweat on his brow was kind of hot. What swirled about in the aftermath once the flames were controlled? It seemed that whatever caused the fire was intentional. And a lot of the restorative herbs, the ones used in potions, especially our healing ones, and for our healing studies, were destroyed. And these are herbs used specifically towards any injuries or illnesses caused by arcane means. If someone who has been practicing their magics and gets either hurt or sick, they could potentially lead themselves into death without the herbs present to create any potions or salves that could recover them. I remember the investigation getting very intense as interviews of all the students who were on scene. I remember I hadn't seen Eric in our classes, and by the next time I did, he had a very darkened face and very upset. The classes that involved the greenhouse were canceled, which was a number of his. But whoever did it was never found. All right. 2 elixirs. Ooh. So the potions on this one, Yarrow Tonic and a blood tincture. Lovely. So 2. As I recalled in my first year, in my attempt to go to the Forbidden Forest, you very quickly realize why it is a Forbidden Forest and why you should not go. There are a plethora, blah blah blah, words. Other word choice, there is a lot. A lot of mythical beasts that get attracted to the speaking gem on the grounds. And I remember through our second year, a group of us, several students, Eric included, along with a bunch of third years who swore up and down that'd be a safe venture, that they knew what they were doing and they would lead us in the right way. Memphis, my darling demonic goat, was very unhappy. As we wandered through, he kept trying to head-butt me backwards. And even as I tried to kind of brush him off and try to tell him it was okay, he was very adamant about not continuing further. But Eric paused and he said maybe we should listen to Memphis. We've already had some troubles. And before he could finish his thought, we could hear the crack and groan of trees bending, and in the next moment, just a burst of splintered wood came out towards us. And in the dim light within the thick of the wood, you could just see this massive creature. A big, wide smile curling past its ears and even seemingly almost beyond his head. It was surreal, nightmarish. And as Memphis bristled and gives a belting bleh, the creature's mouth opened in a hiss as its tawny arms curl around the trees, its fingers long, skeletal, but almost looking like thin, branched twigs, 2 feet long, curling around the trees to bring itself forward, and its mouth is opening agape, revealing a maw of just rows of endless teeth. Everyone begins shouting and running and casting different spells. I quickly scoop up Memphis as Eric takes my hand and throws up a spell that casts a flash of light. I can hear one of the students screaming that it's feeding off our magic. It's trying to eat our magic. Don't let it take you. And I just remember his grip being so tight on my hand as we began to run. We did break through the tree line, but very quickly everybody was already scattered. So all I can remember is just being with Eric holding Memphis in my other arm, him belting and screaming like the goat he is. And as we stood into the field, we realized we were just out by Eric's house, the House of Celestials, down by the river. As we kind of take pause and look back, we couldn't see any creature following after us. But we just stood, neither one of us letting go of the other's hand as little Memphis bleats quietly. All the students, all of us that went into that forest stupidly, were very much punished. The teachers heard very quickly, especially as we were all ended up around the House of Celestials. We were given strict duties to stay either in our house or on the academy grounds proper, that when we're not studying or doing classes that we would have to clean. So I got to learn very quickly how to properly clean rugs with no magic, as they told us, if you're going to do stupid things involving magic eating beasts, well, learn to not live without magic. Should have listened to Memphis. And that was Eric's here. Now, our time, it's about 20 after 9. It's been in roughly an hour and a half of stream time. So I think this is a good point for us to take a quick little break so we can refresh ourselves, stretch, take any vitamins if you need it, all that stuff. Also take a moment to thank everybody who has come in here. We got a number of follows. Post Poetic, Danny Hurt 1, Demon 4x4, thank you for the follows. And of course, if you're watching here on Twitch, to our chatters, we have Cassi Bronwyn, the one who made this delightful game that we're having so much fun and getting the feels, the romantic feels coming on in the darkness of magic. It's great. For those watching live on stream, remember you can drop a command code blessing to get the Crowdfundr campaign. Follow the link and that will take you straight there, where it'll give you all the information about the game, as well as getting a preview. If you do command code Moth, that will take you to Cassie's Itch game, where you can review or see some of the other games that she made, such as the sticker game, which was the last one she had released. Very different vibes, but also delightful. And yeah, we're just going to do a quick 10-minute. I got a delightful BRB screen with rotating ads. So take a stretch, bathroom break, water, whatever you need. I'm going to weep about my cold coffee. Adjust my tarot card cam. And see you in 10 minutes, everyone. Okay. We are back. Hope everyone had a nice little break there, got refreshments. I have a nice skull filled with water. And yeah. Get my little incense burning here. I forgot to light it at the start, but that's okay. Alright, as we all settle back into our story, we were just finishing year 2. But before we move on to year 3, there's still some business to be had. In the last month, leading out of our second year, I recall I was having at least, these dreams. And it took me a while, even as they were coming clearer and clearer, to realize that these were the dreams from the speaking gem. And I tried hard to just let them be dreams. But I couldn't resist anymore. I couldn't just not answer the calling. So I went to it. And when I reached out, letting myself hear the speaking gem, one late night, I remember the distant bell ringing midnight, and a vision of a secret path came to my mind. One that no others could follow. And I remember just a whisper, a faint crawling of words in my mind say, "What you seek is hidden in the ground rotunda." And I pull away and I open my eyes. And as I make an exasperated sigh, I hear my name called. Celestine? And I peer around the other side of the gem and I see Eric. His hand was also on the speaking gem as he was pulling it away. We sort of stood there, dumbfounded, blinking at each other. We didn't say why we were there. We didn't say what we heard. We just started to walk. And we continued to walk side by side. And we continued walking when we got to the rotunda. As we stand in the space, looking around for signs, Eric finally says something. He finally says, "It told you something was hidden here, right?" Yeah, it did, Eric. And we both kind of laugh, feeling this warm breath of summer breeze wash across the grounds. And together we search that rotunda. And I'll let a major arcana decide what it is that we find in that rotunda. Maybe it could be that moment of, is this friendship beyond rivalry and being classmates? Is it something more? Admittedly, I am crushing. The Hermit, which has a delightful little bird and a candle on a skull. We initially searched, going on hands and knees to test stone or to look up at the landscape to see maybe, is it something physical we're trying to find? Is there something more? And we take a pause and sit for a moment, contemplating and contemplating. We end up just enjoying the quiet moment of maybe not so much a solitude when you have company, but maybe that's what it was, solitude in company. We wondered what maybe the speaking gem was trying to say. I pondered that maybe we were too into our studies and it wanted to give us a break after the year we've had. Eric kind of laughed at that. So there's always a chance that could be true. And we didn't even realize how much time went by until the break of dawn passed over the horizon, and the soft pink hues painted the clouds. But now I know of a very secret path, maybe only known by one other person, admittedly, that I can take safely to the speaking gem whenever I want. After what we've been through, maybe that's a nice thing to close off on the year on. Alright. Thank you, Hermit. Which is a card of contemplation and solitude. Now we move on to year 3. Get my cards. Year 3 is Pentacles, which in this deck is just called coins. So year 3. I mean, year 2 has seen some dark turns, but what can stem from them, only the cards may know. So here are my cards for the year. Tossing everything on my desk, let's go. Alright. First card, 10 of coins. So we got emblems of a heart, nervous system, pelvis, skulls. Quite lovely. So, 10 of coins. What do I recall of the year with you? This was another summer that I spent here on campus. tending to things, continuing my cleaning work, as after the whole forest debacle, I've come to take the cleaning as just an extension of time that I can spend being sort of janitorial staff for the break, and I felt that almost as soon as school returned and the classes started, that trouble came once more. The North Tower went on lockdown basically a week right after the classes returned. There was a big evacuation of students and faculty. And from outside, there's just this roiling black mass pressed against the windows. And as we were already trying to escape and get out of the tower, I could hear that shadow whispering, "Let's swim in the smoke." It was unnerving, just this echoing whisper repeating itself. "Let's swim in the smoke." The shadow, the black mass, just clung across the tower into the windows. And for a while, the faculty wouldn't let any students go inside the tower. I was admittedly curious. In Memphis, the unnatural good angel that he is at my side, just kept a mouthful of my robes chewing away as I tried to pull me from approaching the tower. But I could still hear a whisper, almost like a threat. It almost seemed like if I didn't step back into that space, that shadow would try and come for me. The chariot. So, what shall the chariot give me in this situation? Control and willpower. So as I stand just beyond the precipice of that doorway going into the northern wing, I look down at Memphis, his red and black eyes blinking up at me, him munching on my robes as he's trying to yank me back. And though those whispers of the shadow echo in my mind, I try and shunt it away. I try to force my own will to block it out from my mind, and it seemed like such a fight as I recall it. As though that shadow was trying to curl itself from the northern tower, trying to escape in through the windows and reach down the corridors towards me. And almost instinctually, I turn a foot and walk away. Memphis clopping down the hallway with me, bleeding happily on my change of pace from where we were. But the whispering stayed in my ear for a good while, and just a cold wash would meet me every time I even looked towards that northern tower. Yes, Memphis is best of us. Be strong for Memphis. Best boy. Alright. Ooh. A king. Our good king of coin here. Got 2 brains. 2 better than 1. Alright. So after the odd passing of the shadow and eventually the tower reopening, there was a wide spread rumor that many would say was just outlandish. But there's this rumor that there's a fountain at the center of the campus courtyard, and that fountain could grant your wishes. Nobody's actually done it until this day, when a group of us, Brendan, Surya, even Eric, who was curious about the possibility of a wish being granted, we all dared each other to take part in this. We each had a pure silver coin, and as we were casting our wishes, putting our will into the coin to toss into the water, for a moment I opened my eyes and I remember looking into my reflection. First, to make sure my reflection is there, and there it was. But no. As I look at the other reflections, I saw they all had red eyes. Just pure blood red across iris, pupil, all of it encompassed. And for just a brief moment, as the ripples from the coins having been tossed in the waters begin to settle, I see those reflections detach and pick up the coins. And as I blink, as though time seemed to slow, I see those reflections hand their coins to mine. And as everyone is laughing around, I feel a heaviness in my palm. And I see the coin that I once tossed, now covered in blood. All I wished for was just some lasting friendships. Was that so bad? I don't say anything to the others, and when I looked up trying to put on a fake smile, I see Eric look over with a cocked brow, asked if I was okay. And I just smiled and nodded, saying, you know, silly rumors, let's see if it's really true. That night I take the coins and I go to the Whispering Lake. And One by one, I toss the coin, trying to envision whatever might be attached to them could be washed free. And that whatever foolish thing we may have done might be able to be canceled out. Next card. We got 7 of coins. All those skulls. So delightful. Alright. One of the other exciting things of this 3rd year really chilled me as it happened right in my dorm, in our dear house of Dahlias. Dahlias? Words escape me. In my house. I recall this giant crashing sound as though glass had fallen and shattered. And when I came running down into the common room, along with many others, we discovered that a housemate had broken the full-length mirror that was standing against the wall. And she kept screaming, "I saw a creature made of smoke inside it!" And eventually the screaming just turned into sobs. Just sobs of, "I saw it! I saw it!" We all came together to try and clean up the mess. Some tried to comfort her. I remember now, her name was Sherry. And a very lovely girl. Dark auburn hair, deep skin, freckled. Sweetest girl I could ever meet. And I remember just her looking so sick. And as I was taking it in and the people were trying to comfort her, felt like I may have been the first one to notice, but her deep skin just paled and turned almost gray ash. One of the other people comforting her did take notice and started to yell, saying, "Look at her skin, what the hell is happening? Look at her skin!" Of course, panic rippled out like wildfire amongst us. We very quickly called for faculty who came. They quarantined our dorm, and when we were seen to, all of us taken to the infirmary to look us over to make sure it was isolated to the one student. We were allowed to go and stay in other dorms if we have friends with rooms that we could stay with. I did end up staying in the House of Celestials as Saria was more than happy to take me into her room. This is the same house as Eric. So we had many crossing paths for a little bit. He was, for this 3rd year, working with the infirmary in his off time, as he was really excelling amongst his healing classes and his potion making. And his previous studies in the mundane world was very useful for interpreting how such magics can be applied. We did talk a little bit of what happened in my house. I mean, after the tower and the fountain, I worry. There's many times where we just stayed up with our books without saying anything, but like that night in the rotunda, we just sat quietly. Eric did ask if I believed her about this ghost, smoke, creature, whatever it was. I said yes. He then told me if I wanted to, I could go with him to his charm class. He was allowed to use materials to do charms that maybe we can make a charm of protection. And I said sure. So that's my year. Let's see how Eric did. I love these cards so much. I am very much going to post about these on my Twitter. I will post a link because it'll take me a moment to find them. So, as I draw Eric's card for our third year, remember to follow me on Twitter. Ghost Candle. Alright. Eric, let's go. First card. The 8 of coin. Ooh. Oh, this one has like little animals. I see lizard, scorpion, snake. Skulls, of course. A little beetle. I don't know the Latin here. And I will not say it because I'll probably say it wrong. One word looks like a mango. Alright. Enough the silliness. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough study. I'm stressed and a little scared. There's a lot going on. 8. Alright, well, I remember it wasn't too far after the North Tower event that suddenly the East Wing of the Academy had to close for the year. No solid reason was ever given. But I remember as I was waiting in the dorm, I remember Eric coming back. And this was before the quarantine on my dorm was cleared up. Eric came back, and as he was walking through the kind of house entrance, I could see he had bits of black specks on his robe, very thick. And he seemed very perturbed, darkened look on his face. And I asked him what happened, what was he doing, what was he up to, and all he got out was he had to check out the East Wing. Just something compelled him to. And that was it. The rumors amongst the students say that the janitorial staff had seen a lot of this black kind kind of thick tar-like substance just dripping from the ceilings. And that through the whole east wing, just these echoing growls. I worry that if Eric had gone in there after hearing all that stuff, what did he see? What did he hear? Well, he's never one to talk much. Ooh, 5 of coin. Did you know that 2 of Brackroot's towers are joined by a very narrow covered bridge? Well, I remember one day Eric had come from that direction. He spotted me and quickly asked if I had seen a cloaked figure in all black. Eric was sort of in short breath, as though he was rushing from somewhere or to somewhere, and I just kind of gave him a quizzical look. I was like, I didn't see anybody. What figure? And he sort of sighed, looking around, told me not to worry about it, he'll sort it out, and ran off. Well, I tried to go after him. I wasn't about to let him run away from me, saying he saw a figure cloaked in black and having such an anxious look about him, so I tried to follow. Eric was just trying to look over the bridge edge, looking down along the sides. Well, he pointed to a statue and he said, "That wasn't always there, right?" I narrowed my brow and... No, that statue's new. And there was a plaque on that statue. And this time I will also draw from our major to see what it was. So as Eric and I approach the statue and take a gander at it, he bends down and he reads something on that plaque. Death. We got death. Yes. Amazing. I love it. Thank you, tarot cards. Death is a very interesting thing. And the plaque read, and time again, cycle end, anew begins. A man unknown sold a name that's no longer known. Can you really sell your name and have it taken from you? Interesting idea and chilling. But having lost your name do anything to you as a person? Maybe. And depending on what you sold it to, well, we know of both fays and demons who would have quite the fun time with that. Ooh, 2 of coin. Our final card for Eric. This came to me as a rumor. I was studying for a test the next day. I didn't want to disrupt it, but apparently there was some sort of private club. And someone had mentioned that Eric was invited. And that there was this outdoor event. Now, there's always been rumors of little private clubs and secret societies and all the like, but I remember the next day talking to Eric and him saying how weird the club was. And when I tried to ask him more, he just said he's not into the presentations and the ritual of chanting things or having to bow to things, and muttered something about a skeleton. That sounds like one of my old Halloween frat parties when I was at a mundane college. So I tried to press him for more on what he was muttering and going on about, but he very much zipped up and stiffened. He just said, "Don't take club invitations," and went back into his silent stance. Interesting. So that was Eric's year. Eric had a tough year, y'all. Poor Eric, my boy. Does he know? Does he see? Does he see how I care? Yes, this is my story. I can say he does. In the end, we have Memphis, though, everybody. Memphis, our boy. He will make sure things don't go off the deep end, though they probably will. Oh, wait. As our end year closeout, the alumni is hosted a masquerade ball. Ooh. It is a 6-hour event just celebrating all the achievements of the graduates. A big party of networking and just embracing the magical world around us. Oh, I was so nervous. Everyone was going on about who they would go to the dance with, who would be their date, and what kind of magics they'll do, and let's let the cards tell me. I definitely found myself thinking of Eric a lot. And when I was talking to Memphis in the room, as I was trying to get ready and figure things out, making all the decisions days, weeks before, because I can't handle social parties. It's stressing me out, but I want to go. Memphis just kind of huffing and bleeding at me through the conversation. The Emperor. What does the Emperor? Let me see. Let me get a quick meaning. I want to say a person of authority and stature. Well, eventually I decide, you know what, if he isn't going to ask me, I'll ask him. I'm an adult. We're adults. We can do this. It's not like we're 15. We're, 25, 26. This is fine. Why am I even in that headspace? This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. So I immediately hunt down Eric. I'm like, hey, let's go for a walk. And as we walk, I just immediately blurt out, "You want to go to the masquerade with me?" And he sort of stands there and blinks at me with his gray, stormy eyes, and he puts a hand through his beautiful dark hair, as he kind of seemingly thinks about it. And he said, sure. Why not the two so-called prodigies of the school go hand in hand together? Sure, they'll bring a lot of interesting rumors, right? And I just feel my everything tighten up and my face burn. Like, okay, cool. Why am I 15? And I, not even saying anything else, just pivot and go on. And just barely registering him saying he'll get me blurred. And yeah, it was a magical, wonderful, weird, and almost scary time. Scary in many different ways. We went to the ball and we ended up kind of collecting up with our friends to make it less awkward. So Surya and Brandon ended up going together. So we sort of made it that as like, we're a group of friends, but we're also kind of duo dating. We had a lot of fun dancing and all of us throwing out different illusions and magic works and lights to create different effects with that music, almost like we're dancing with our own arcane selves. I didn't realize how much Sharina can really let go when she's not studying or working on her classes. Maybe, I mean, we're all adults, so maybe the drink was getting us really loosened up. Some of the alumni were speaking to all of us about how our year was going on, the things we were learning. If they saw any of the students performing anything interesting, they would talk to them about their studies and what their theses on their magics were. We did see one teacher, Professor Wrangle, fairly a larger man, kind of more on the rotund side. He loved wearing pastels and pinks, and he had this big, pure white, bushy beard. Liked to wear the biggest sort of witchy hat he could find and have it adorned in like buttons and feathers and just ridiculousness. Very fun, delightful fellow. Hard to follow him sometimes. He was the professor for dream interpretation. And he really, Professor Wrangle, I think maybe he had more to drink than anyone in the place and had to be escorted out. He was going on about dreams of smoky landscapes and how the depths of our emotional turmoil can creep up in our minds when we least expect. He was quite a tangent. I don't know, maybe he thought this was just his classroom. But Wrangle, good old Professor Wrangle, he still studies to this day, teaching, and yeah, he says it was a fun night. He loves it when the masquerades happen. But as we were celebrating and laughing and having a good time, Surya came up to me, was asking if I knew where Brendan was. That she was hoping that he would be present when the slow dance song was coming up. And as I was beginning to give my answer, we heard a scream from the hall. And as the screams kept going, everyone started to filter out in a rush as more gasps and yells started to come. Myself, Eric, and Surya, we tried to look through the crowd, and then once someone said, "Is that Brendan?" And a rapid fire of no, 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 Serena went dashing forward. And I just remember that visage of her, that beautiful lavender layered dress, soaking up black viscera on the floor as she knelt down crying, cradling Brandon's head. His eyes just blackened, and the veins in his body's purely visible, almost like something inked them so that they could be seen in the skin. I remember Eric pulling me close and taking me in his arms as we looked at our friend. I remember the older the professors and the older alumni getting everybody to move back. I remember the headmaster trying to pull Surya away, and she just kept screaming. I don't think I could ever forget how primal it was. I didn't stay on campus that summer. I rented a room. Expensive for what it was, but at that point I didn't care. I just needed to get away. I often messaged Serena tracking in on her, but she never replied. I messaged Eric a number of times as well. He actually was the first one to ask me in an email if I was okay. I mean, we weren't. I don't think none of us were, but we said we were okay. We tried to keep up on any news on what happened, but there was nothing. When the classes started again, there was just a heavy gloom that washed over the whole place. Now, there's always rumors of the campus being dangerous, that there's dangerous things that can lurk about. Surya didn't return. And I don't blame her. We are now into swords. I can't wait to show these ones off. They're actually really nice. Alright. My final year. Ends with this, even with all the gloom. A moment strikes me, a moment from really early on in my first year, when it was first pointed out that I seemed to have a natural knack to magic. I was labeled a quote-unquote prodigy. As I look and spot Eric that first day back at the school, I remember being told for a final exam, Eric and I will have to face off in it. And just a cold, dark chill goes through my body and thinking how to maneuver it all. Alright. Let's see how our 4th year goes. This is our Ace of Blades. Or 1, but our Ace. Ace of Swords. I've always done really well in my divination studies. And as part of my final year, I was tasked into trying to peer and decipher deep into the future. I was tracking what the paths the stars may take. It was a lonely task. And I spent many a night watching the stars. And I was stationed at the peak of the tall spire, probably the most powerful telescope I ever touched. I was nervous of possibly breaking it. And I just watched for hours on end those trails. Drawing out the charts seemed so natural to me. It was just art of a different kind, and it flowed. But as the details came, I realized that one of the stars was changing its course, actively. And as I was trying to retrace those lines to figure out what I had drawn, the morning sun crested over the nearby mountains, that warm morning glow, golden and clear and crisp. I look and I see the star appeared within reach. It was a strange feeling. I reached out to it. And I could hear a soft voice whisper back. Let me see what it whispers with our major arcana. Oh my god. Can y'all guess what I just drew from my major arcana? The star. So, I reach out and just in that soft, distant, warbling voice, there is a feeling It wasn't words, it was a feeling. To have hope. And as I continue to try and reach for it, it swayed a little bit, its vibrancy becoming cool. And that whispering, voiceless feeling of needing faith to follow. And in a blur of prismatic light, it streaked across the skies, and I can see it burn up as it scorched into the grounds, ramming across the earth, leaving a scar that from the distance looked like colored crystals almost. It was surreal and beautiful all in one as I looked into the ground, everyone rushing out to see what happened. And for a while, I just sat in the tower contemplating what the star reached out to me with. One of the supervising professors looked over my work. He pointed out the strangeness of that one star, but he didn't connect that was the one that crashed into the earth outside on campus. I told Eric I figured out of anybody he would believe what I experienced. And as he kind of contemplated what I said the star sent to me, he said, well, maybe just trying to tell you to keep your faith. Everything has turned in a dark way. And sometimes you just have to have faith to pull yourself through it. Thank you, tarot card. That's just so, I don't know, serendipitous that I pulled the star for the star. Alright. Ooh. A 2. 1, 2. The 2 of blades. Okay. Ooh, okay. It has been the most stressful 4 years of my life up to this point. Beautiful, scary, stressful. I thought a typical mundane college life was hard enough. Having the threat of arcane magic and demonic creatures on the brink of killing you is a different kind of stress. Well, I remember coming across various clues that seemed to point to some sort of location for a society of sorts to meet on campus. As I was trying to put all these clues together, it started to click in my brain. This society, were they behind Brendan's murder? I take my time. I don't want to rush anything to give any sign that anyone outside of their society may have learned. I take my time and I figure out one of the members I figured out Grayson Lamore. He was apparently a new member that had joined really early last year. Whatever the society is. He'd be third year now. So I managed to track Grayson down and we talked for a while. And over the course of the week, I utilized some knowledge of potion crafting and the extra tidbits that Eric passed on to me from his more advanced learnings that we are in competition with. Managed to get this particular member, Grayson, to stay in his room. And remembering how my own visage was once taken in my reflection, I apologize to my own reflection as I take Grayson's to glamour myself in disguise. I follow through onto that meeting location. And I remember just this taste of ash, almost like I was tasting a campfire, just if I had my mouth open when the wind blew the smoke in the wrong way. But I come to this meeting and I see a mix of alumni and current students. And they're all just chatting away normally, and I'm trying my best. I pretend, as Grayson, that I'm just feeling sick to avoid talking. I was surprised to see one professor, one that was close to Professor Bronwyn, Professor Greenwich. They were one of the herbalists, very much tied to the greenhouse. I tried to take note of every face and name that I could get in this meeting. I couldn't do anything to confront, but at least maybe with this information, I can let the right people know and maybe look into what they did to Brendan. Ooh. 7 of blades. Ooh. It was definitely tough focusing on studies after finding that little secret society. But there's one night as just the thoughts on how I approach everything go over and over and over in my head. I found a new path to go back to my dorm. Now, one thing to note is that my dorm, the House of Delias, is across the river, where I can see the school silhouetted against the mountains in the north. A view of the fountain and the front gate. But I find this new path, and as I go, I begin to hear voices. And as I start to focus in, these voices were chanting, all as one, just chanting together. And quietly I creep up through the dorm halls, and as I peer through the window of one of the rooms, I see about 20 or so people, all cloaked. And the moment I look into this room, they all have just suddenly stopped in their chanting and turn. One of the figures points directly at me, yelling at me to leave. And in that brief, quick flash of a moment, the door is suddenly slammed in my face. What else did I see in that room? Let's see what the guards tell me. Ah, that one jumped out, so let's go. Oh, the Emperor. We've had you before. So I will say that the voice that came out of the figure that pointed at me and yelled at me was very masculine. And for a brief moment, I thought I recognized the voice, but couldn't make it out. And I remember peering, when I looked into that space, seeing white curtains kind of lining the walls with crimson, almost a gradient of crimson to black at the bottoms. And I just remember the floor being almost like a mirror black sheen. And as I think about the chanting, trying to pick out the different tones, the rhythms, what voices I could have heard amongst them, I think one of them was another senior in my class. And then it suddenly clicks in that one of the voices was Crystal. That girl, when I was in year 2, took my reflection to be like me. What the hell was Crystal doing in there? Well, maybe we'll find out. That was my year of weirdness. How many secret societies are there? I'm freaking out. Are they all one society, maybe? Eric was almost brought into a club. Are they connected? No, he... I do end up talking to Eric, because this is a lot, and I don't know how to process the idea of I infiltrated one society connected to Brendan's murder, and now I came across another society in my dorm. Definitely is not some sort of sorority or whatever. It's... what is going on? And when I kind of ramble on to Eric about everything, he stays very calm and very quiet. And as I feel like I'm on the brink of having a full-on meltdown, he just puts an arm around me. Tells me to breathe. And he says he knows exactly what it feels like. Because he's seen his share of clubs and societies. And as much as he also really loves this magical world as I do, he would burn it all down if anything happened. I asked him if anything happened to what? And he just told me to focus on breathing. And then good old Memphis let out his biggest, goatiest bleat. Alright. Our boy, Eric, let's go. And Memphis. We'll be a happy family. It'll be delightful, right? Is this how the game ends? Right, Cassie? I get a new bow and I get a cute little demon pet. That's where we end, right? We live happily ever after. Who needs school? Let's drop out. And hopefully not be murdered because we know arcane stuff. Alright. Eric's here. Oh, I pulled up the wrong one. We need blades. There we go. Alright, Eric. How did you fare this our final year? Ooh. 10. We drew a 10 for each suit. Cards really like 10. Alright. I was in the library, taking a bit of a break, a bit of a breather, and I found myself a little chess table. And I was already kind of playing around, seeing what moves I could do. Chess wasn't really my thing, but it's okay. And when I look up, I saw Eric walking through the pews of the library. So in a hushed tone, I call him over and ask them to join. As we made our moves quietly, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes rook. We talk a little bit about what we have been experiencing in the past 4 years. Eric said he had a hard time being here. That he was basically alone out in the mundane world, which I understood. I kind of mentioned the same. I talked about how before I got the letter, I was being evicted from a very shitty apartment, had only a minimum wage shitty job to try and survive on. He said he had a sister that they became estranged from. And before he had gotten his letter, he had finally got back in touch with her. That she wanted to reconnect. But he wasn't sure. And then having come to the academy, knowing that he can never tell her anything about what we are doing here, about our magic, about this world, it just sort of set back his loneliness again. I remember him moving his knight to take queen in a move that just left his king open to be checkmated. And I looked up at him. I remember him having sort of sad look in his eyes, but a very small smile. He sort of just stared at me for a moment. And he said, "The game is mine." And he patted my hand before lingering for a moment. And in a very swift movement, it didn't even register for a moment as he stood up. He pulled me up with him, gave a gentle kiss on my knuckles. And as his own face just very briefly started to get red, he turned and walked away. And I just remember my own self. Oh, even remembering it, my face hot. And I look around and I see a group of first years. I got aggressive in chat. Don't go nuts with the emotes. I just remember seeing the first years chuckling and giggling off to the side, and I quickly just pack up my bag, grab it, and run away. And the rumors swirling, and not that, I mean, we went to that ball together, like, you know, but he never even attempted any sort of kiss. That was the first real, I mean, it's my hand, but still. Damn it, Eric. Okay. Haha. The page of blades. What's a little romance in our dark games, right? After that little chest-capade, Eric started to become a little more talkative with me. He was always this, from the very beginning, this quiet, sort of back-of-room type, but always confident in his actions, knew what he was doing, and god damn, just so handsome doing it. But he told me how he was just sitting under a tree one day. It was beautiful weather, and he was going over his classes, trying to figure out what order of studies he should approach on the final assignments, when there was a flicker just from the valley on the side of his vision, and when Eric said he saw it was a group of mages, they were all holding swords to the sky and opening some sort of portal. The magic of the portal is very dark. And he said it kind of reminded him of that first day that we did portal in classes, of when I attempted to open that portal and there was a flash of this dark energy when I appeared out in the courtyard, where he, as I remember, was the one who walked me to the infirmary. But he said as he was just quietly watching, there was a bright of flashlight that just washed the land. And when he looked again, all of it was gone. The mages, the portal, all of it. And he showed me this page. Let's let the Major Arcana tell us what this page is. It was something weird. He said it just appeared in his book right after the event. Temperance. Oh my god, hold on. This is weird. Okay. So after all the clubs and society, and this being probably another society thing, Temperance has this annual meeting. It's for music, but the speaker topics: the devil's brew, the magician's snake oil, death and judgment. Okay. Oh my goodness. That's chilling. Well, here's Temperance. Temperance. The finding meaning. Okay. Okay. So he showed me this page, and on it, it almost felt like a riddle, trying to find what makes sense out of it. But there was a warning within it to keep on a steady path. To be patient, but to pay attention. It warned of a balance that could be tempted either way. Don't let it tempt you. What a weird page, Eric. Well, I let Eric put the page away, and as I reignite my incense in preparation of meditating my thoughts, I give him a hug. Because we're at that level, right? I feel like we're at that level, and then he just hugs me back. Weird things just keep appearing in our spaces, in our visions and minds, and around the people, and we still don't understand what is going on, but in a way, between what the star had told me and now this warning given to Eric, we do see that maybe our best bet is to focus on our path and at least have faith in ourselves and in each other. Because as much as we have always been rivals, we've also been our only true friends. It seems we were always hanging out around each other, if not together. Alright, final card for Eric. I want to make sure I feel like... Did I pull this card before? Did I separate my cards? I did, okay. 5! 5 of blades. Let's go. I remember towards the end of our year, Eric had asked me a question. And I wasn't sure what it meant at the time. Maybe I was feeling a bit fluttery when he asked, if you had a spell that could bind your future to what you desired, but it cost someone else theirs, would you do it? And I was sort of perplexed. It seemed rather sudden. I thought, well, I guess the moral dilemma is an interesting concept. Could I steal a future from someone who was already a criminal, who might be in jail? I mean, maybe in stealing their future of that life, that could end up putting them in a better life. And he nodded along to my words and scratched at his scruffy beard, seemingly very deep in thought. I asked him what brought it on. Would he take from someone else's future to secure his own? And he stared at me for a long while in contemplation. All he could really say was, "It's very tempting." All right. Okay, that was Eric's last card. Oh, our 4th year. I need water. Hydrate, everybody. I remember the dawn breaking and closing out the study session. I remember Eric and I catching each other in the banquet hall from across the way, locking eyes before the first section of our exam could begin. We were on a stage, one to display all the abilities we've learned over the course of our 4 years here at Brockwood Academy. All the instructors were seated, each very ready and very eager to see us face each other. From outside, we can even hear the current students trying to get glimpses in through the windows. And I stare across that stage as he looks back at me. And I can feel that heat on my face as he gives me his very signature single nod. I can hear Memphis bleeding from the audience, supportive as always. And even though he was so far across the stage from me, I hear his voice and a breath in my ear telling me to breathe. Never in my time, even against all the horrors and things we had to face here, I know I have to do this exam, but I'm nervous. What if I hurt Eric? My goal, my motivation was always simple. I just wanted a better life. Something beyond what I had imagined, and in a way, I had it since I got that letter. But as we raise our hands in go into casting our spells. All I can remember thinking was a life would be better built if I kept him in it. So, now we're in the interesting exam. We are pitted against each other in multiple parts. So let me reestablish my decks here. We first showcase our flourishing, our magic tethering, how we control and are able to do spells and curses. So now I gotta remember our decks here. Oh my god, I'm so nervous. Okay. I didn't realize there's deck building. Let's go. I'm putting Eric's over here as I sort through. Here's my wands. And our elixirs. Okay, that's my elixir pile. Okay, that's my blades. And this is the blade pile. And then... Oh, I forgot to shuffle Chariot back in. Get back over there, Chariot. And my coin. Alright. Whew. This is interesting. So between our notes, build 2 decks for each year of study. 1 for you, 1 for your rival. Okay. So first off is our wands. Here's Eric's pile. And my pile. This is where it gets a little loosey because I was speaking all my stuff. I don't know what order I drew the cards anymore. Alright. You only draw 1 card from each deck. Okay. So, first card. Mine. 10 of wands. Eric's. King. Eric came into this with a much cooler head than I. His flourishes were impeccable. Hold on, someone's saying the king was mine, was it? Did I switch our rods? I may have switched our rods. That happens sometimes. If I reread them, I will know. It is very intense as we are very much in our brains pulling our magical shenanigans and workflow, trying to remember everything we were taught. Let me recall which of us had. Yes. No, you're right. The king is me. The king is the familiar. I'm king. Alright. Rewind. Yes, Eric is still beautiful in his flourishes. But then I hear the gentle bleating of dear Memphis. In my heart, I say yes. Memphis. And a flurry of arcane color comes through and washes the field, the stage, and just bursts of illusions comes forth in distracting manner. Good, delightful Memphis. My heart, my world, you kept me alive. And with that, with your faith in me, the first exam is mine. Thank you to Chase the Ghost in chat for telling me and making me double check. Probably have to do it a couple times to make sure. Alright. Next exam. As I claim part 1. Blah. I need to keep my arts in order. I am so silly. Don't mind my silliness. Where's my elixirs? Why am I silly? Okay, those are definitely Eric's. These are definitely mine. Where did my elixirs go? There they are. 2 piles. Okay. I should be able to remember these because I made comments about what was on the pictures. Yes. This is my pile. This time I'm right. I'm right. I'll do it specifically. I am right. And Eric. Yes. He had these. Okay. So, after having won the spells and curses, we now go into potions and tonics. This one does make me nervous. Eric was much better at this and kind of made him his thing. Potions and tonics was very much his thing. But we go forth showcasing our disciplined elemental and organic manipulation, doing the alchemical stuffs. Shuffle 3 cards as best I can. Okay. Yeah. Page 2. This time Eric does, for sure, take this one. And that doesn't surprise me in the least. He almost goes right into it without skipping a beat. He knows exactly what herbs and ingredients to pull. And I can almost hear the teachers muttering and nodding as they're watching him, and I very nervously try and figure it out. There are some ingredients that I just don't like, but we have to use them anyway. And though my potion was still excellent, Eric excels beyond excellent in this field. And that is our cups. Blah. Alright. We now go into rituals. This exam is very much about concentration, and it's been hard to concentrate, and often I'm questioning whether this is truly meant. Going over my cards, going over my thoughts, my brain, everything. What does it mean if you fail? And then I think of the societies, the clubs. If I fail, do I... Oh, damn. And I look at Memphis, who's just very much keeping an eye on me. Nodding. Being the ever-supportive demon goat that he is. Okay. Deciphered it. Eric's pile. My pile. Let us go. Did my music end? We can't continue on without music. Okay. shuffle cards as best I can. There we go. Eric's pile. There we go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Ooh. Eric. 7, 10. Let me confirm that I did put the correct correct pentacle in the correct pile. I'll know when I read the prompt. Yes, Eric. No, Eric is 10. That was the North Tower. Yeah. I switched our piles. Let me fix that. There. Okay. Once again, Eric takes it. I suppose being someone who is quiet and observant, he had a real knack of the stronger concentration needed for arcane, for using that runic languages. And I'm trying to scribe down words and compel spirits to speak. And though I try, Eric still has the better presentation, the more steadied hand. And at the end of the rituals part of the exam, he glances over at me as I kind of stare at him. As we know, what is about to come up next? So this is interesting, already looking at the cards. I had very low pulls. Eric has one card I could beat. So it's 2 to 1 in Eric's favor. But we are now on stage and about. We have to be quick. We have to be patient. And we have to predict the other's move. Okay. This is Eric's spell, right? Yeah, this is Eric's spell. Okay, I think I shuffled. I only have one card I could possibly beat. Eric is so good. Memphis Bleep. Bleh. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god! As much as we were in a duel, it almost felt like we were dancing. Every thrust of a wand, every flick of an arm, every shift of a foot into its next step. I remember just the blur of colors, and I was just focused on Eric's face. Each spell countered and countered in turn. Until one landed on him. Ooh. Okay. Proceed to graduation, okay. I just sort of breathe as Eric is knocked back. In that very same moment as I see him go flying, I immediately drop my wand, not even thinking. and go to him as I see him hit the floor. Memphis comes screaming after, falling along the stage. The professors getting up, clapping, while those on the infirmary team already coming around. There is a roar of cheers around me that is just muffled in my ears as I look over Eric. His face pained as seems kind of stunned for a moment before he blinks up as the infirmary team is trying to get him up. And he gives me that side cocky smile. Takes my hand and gives it a kiss. The headmaster comes back up onto the stage, and as the spot kind of starts getting swarmed as students are now coming into the space, I feel all the eyes kind of being turned onto me. Everyone asking questions. Professors, trying to take their own accolade for having taught me things. And I just try and catch your breath before, amongst all the natterings and peppering of those questions, I swear, very quickly, very briefly, I hear a sharp whisper of some sort of incantation in my ear. That's the end! That's the end! Oh! Ah! Time to decompress. Okay. I need a second. Let me gather my thoughts. First of all, we all love Eric. But most of all, Memphis. Memphis is best boy of this whole story. Yeah, whew. Gosh, Cassi, I love this game. It was so fun. I'm so happy. This was a lot of fun for me. And since I don't get to play romantic things so much, I'm glad I got to do that. And it got really cute, even amongst all the creepy society stuff and evil magic creatures. And we got Memphis. So, to nicely wrap things up as I'm re-centering here, I think we have a very fun, beautiful tale. I love it. I love the prompts. They were very intriguing. And there's still so much you can interpret from them, and even applying how you interpret the cards to them. So good. Yeah, okay. Focus, Natalie, focus. Don't dream of Eric right now. I hope you all had fun. Thank you for those who joined me in chat here on Twitch. If you want to play this game, see how your own adventure in this academy goes, if you're watching live on Twitch, just do the command code BLESSING. That'll take you to the Crowdfundr page, a nice little link to that, where you can support this campaign, which is already fully funded. Why not just continue on that train? Join it, do it, let's go. And if you do the command code MOTH, that will give you the itch.io storefront for Cassi Mothwin, where you can see a bunch of her other games that she's made in the past. Some of them very much a different vibe than this one. But this one is very much delightful. I enjoyed myself. I love story stuff, And Cassie in chat is telling me we broke our last stretch goal while we were streaming. Yay! I'm gonna pretend I had a hand in that. Just by playing the game live, I'm gonna pretend. That is my end exam win. That was the incantation. Imagine Cassie whispering in the ear, we broke the last stretch goal. And yeah, if you're all good, remember, not only just to support Cassie through the Crowdfundr and checking out her other games, you could also find her on the Twitters at Cassi Mothwin. Delightful person to follow. And of course, I hope I've been a delightful person to watch. You can catch me on Twitter at GhostCandle, Instagram at GhostCandle. If you're here on Twitch, you're already here. Good job. Drop a follow. If you have a subscribe on hand, drop me a subscribe. And if you're watching here as the VOD on Twitch or YouTube, everything you need to know will be in the description down below. The links for all of Cassie's stuff, as well as anything else imperative need to know, or whatever. And yeah. So good. So good. And I'm glad everyone had fun. Thank you to everybody who, of course, followed, who participated in chat. We had a lot of feels happening and the bot getting aggressive. But that's okay. We got some very interesting pulls too. I think the memorable moment is pulling the star card on the star prompt. Amazing. And oh my goodness, Cassie dropping gifted subs. Thank you so much, Cassie. And yeah, I hope everyone will have a good day, night, evening, whatever time zone it is for you. And of course, I like to say things in three, so make sure you do check out all the stuffs, the game, see how many adventures you'll have, see if you'll have your own Eric. Who doesn't want their own Eric? Who doesn't want their own Memphis? Who doesn't want their own experience? It's all good. And I'll be doing more solo feelsy stuff through the month, so yeah, make sure you follow me so you can be up to date on that. And yeah, take care of yourselves, hydrate, sleep, do what you need to do to make sure you are a healthy you. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.